we're back. Game number 2 of our second best of 3 of the day. Our lower bracket finals. Vici Gaming taking on Fnatic in an elimination match, but more importantly, a match which will send one of these two teams to the grand finals where they will meet LGD for their share of the first place portion of our $50,000 prize pool. Vici and Fnatic. Well, Fnatic looked okay at times in game 1, but Vici in the end able to come out on top, leading off very strong with a Vici and a Nature's Prophet after banning out the Alchemist as well as the Enchantress. Fnatic this time getting rid of the Doom and the DK as well as Pugna in the second ban phase, and once again Fnatic has managed to land that IO pick early on.
I'm surprised that Pugna didn't actually get picked in the first phase by Vici. They could have just done very similar strategy to last game, Visage plus Pugna opener, and then work from there. They don't have Venomancer on their team this time. Venomancer is just hugely annoying to deal with, to both when you're pushing and when you're defending against pushes. The play wards are just immensely difficult to deal with. And you need like a lot of right click to bring them down. They have a ton of HP. 450 HP is a lot.
Early on, we can see mobility going to be the name of the game, Nature's Prophet and IO. Some interesting interactions there. I mean, both can punish you for being out of position in a variety of ways. Nature's Prophet, obviously, the one who can get active more early on in the game, but also offers you that split push, whereas IO, he can function in that capacity, but usually it's all about trying to pick off solo targets or get the jump on opponents while you farm elsewhere, and as soon as an engagement is found, falling right into the fight. Shen going to be taken out by Fnatic as well, so they are very worried about any kind of a swarm strategy, while Vici not wanting to give AUI Tiny for the second game in a row, though, to be honest, in game 1, they dealt with it very well.
Yeah, they don't have the Venomancer on their side this time, though. Venomancer very important in being able to kite him during BKB, to if he can get the Venomous skill before he pops his BKB, the BKB usage is typically wasted.
And we'll have to see what they want to pair with it now. CK is still available. And CK is great in his own right. I mean, you can do a lot with CK especially. You know, Venomancer, IO, and CK can make for a fairly tough to deal with offensive tri lane if they want to try to put some pressure on Nature's Prophet. Generally anymore, you see him run in a safe, or not necessarily a safe lane, but a solo lane as much as possible, be it solo safe or solo long. So still a lot of ambiguity in terms of how these two teams are going to stack up against each other. Vici, though, going to go ahead and ban out the Clockwork on their own. ROTK played an excellent clock in game 1 this time, though. Just, I really like the way this draft is looking on both sides so far. I mean, Fnatic taking away what they know Vici is comfortable running, and Vici at the same time willing to take away the comfort zone of Fnatic.
Yeah, I think the ban and pick phase has gone fairly well for both teams. Neither team getting really that big an upper hand. Venomancer is probably, I guess he's better than Visage at this point in the game, especially considering the way most teams play. But Nature's Prophet also a very flexible off lane, even though ROTK wasn't amazingly good at it in the series versus LGD.
Yeah, and really the problem there was he just fell behind early. He never had a chance to really be where he should be. I mean, at his peak, he was only a few hundred gold ahead of anyone in terms of pure net worth, and he spent a lot of time being mobile across the map, but it just wasn't worth the time investment he took, and he'll be looking to make an adjustment there. Very strong supporting cast out of Vici, Visage, and Rubik, very potent as early game roamers, and Fnatic now waiting to show us their third pickup. And, you know, the Rubik pick here, a little bit, I mean, it's interesting for its own reasons. I mean, he has, basically anything he can steal from Venomancer is going to be of high value. IO, not so much in most cases, but also makes it tough to draft certain heroes into a Rubik. Not like they're going to be worrying about a Magnus, as I don't think Fnatic was looking to run Magnus to begin with, or any kind of hero like that. But still, you have to be conscious of the fact that anything you draw out in these next 3 picks could end up turned against you.
They make really good use of the repositioning ability from Telekinesis, though, just often bringing him too close or too far away from the help of his own team, and usually just leads a kill every time there's a Telekinesis up. So I think that Rubik is pretty strong, especially if you can roam with him pretty early. Fnatic going with the Bristleback, most likely paired out with the EO, and that's going to be fairly difficult for Vici to deal with. And what are they supposed to do? They, I mean, you can kite a Tiny like last game, just because his spells are fairly long cooldown, but a Bristleback is going to be able to dish a good amount of AoE damage in case he does get kited. And if you leave him unchecked too, he is going to wreck your face.
I actually wouldn't be surprised if Fnatic still went with another another hero to go with IO, even coming down the stretch
remaining.
and run the Bristleback in an off lane or something like that. Again, they do have some aggressive tri-lane potential
Reserve
just
time.
because of how strong Venomancer is in that role. But the Bristleback, doesn't have a stun. That's an issue. Generally speaking, for relocate, you want to have some kind of a disable so you can get the most out of relocates on top of single targets whenever you catch them out due to good warding or just poor positioning on the enemy team. And Bristleback, we've seen time and time again, he doesn't need a ton to feel somewhat effective, but
10
he is
seconds
susceptible to being
remaining.
held down. If he gets behind and isn't allowed to
Fnatic's
snowball, he
turn
really
to
doesn't
pick.
have the chance to come back. So Fnatic's going to have to pick their poison here. Do you roll the dice and do something like an offensive tri-lane with a solo lane Bristleback, a solo safe lane, or do you just go ahead and say, we're just going to prioritize the Bristleback and put all of our hopes in him?
Yep, there is a Nyx Assassin coming out from Vici, and this is probably Super's hero. He plays a pretty darn good Nyx Assassin, and it is not terribly easy to play him after the Impale nerf, and he has fallen
10
off
seconds
massively
remaining.
as a result. Yeah, most likely going to be tricky on the
5
Bristleback.
seconds
Again, I wouldn't be
remaining.
surprised too if they did it. They don't have any stuns right now, which, as you pointed out, is going to be pretty
Reserve
difficult to deal with.
time.
If they just want to TP out, even Nature's Prophet could just TP out too. So it depends on what they want, what they exactly want to do with their strategy. Though, do they want to 5-on-5 and face Vici head on when they have heroes like Nyx Assassin and Nature's Prophet who don't contribute insane amounts to team fights, or do they want to gank a lot and just try and take towers down with Venomancer and EO?
The big problem I see with Vici's lineup so far is, Nyx Assassin, as good as he is, as you mentioned, he really fell off for good reason in the latest patch, just because, basically Vendetta has become a get into position spell for the most part. It's so hard to Vendetta someone in the back at this level and land your Impale now that it's now a cast point ability. So whenever you look at the damage output Vici can have, you see some burst in Visage and Nyx Assassin certainly, and you do have a certain amount of
10
sustain,
seconds
but
remaining.
they're really lacking in the sustain department outside of the Visage familiars. Eventually, the Nature's Prophet
Dire
will
team
probably build
ban.
some right click. But speaking of right click, Fnatic going back to what they know and what gave them success last night, we will have a mid Shadow Fiend on Demon.
Yeah, and Vici's going to have a very tough time dealing with that unless they get a lot of early rotations in from the
10
Visage and the
seconds
Rubik, or they
remaining.
get a lot of TPs in from Nature's Prophet. But it's going to hurt their other lanes
5
a lot,
seconds
and it's going to
remaining.
free up a lot of room for Wisp and or Bristleback to farm a lot. So Vici's going to be spread very thin
Reserve time.
in trying to keep Fnatic down, and the pressure is on them. Their late game
5
is
seconds
very, very weak
remaining.
right now, and Fnatic's late game is
Fnatic's
very
turn
incredibly
to
strong,
ban.
and their mobility and efficiency and ability to farm
Dire team
is
pick.
pretty darn high with the potential of relocate too. So Fnatic banning out a Spectre because they don't want to play the farming game against a Spectre like we saw last game.
Right now, something that comes to mind, as you mentioned, Nature's Prophet, a +1 to any mid ganks, two very effective roamers in Rubik and Visage, especially if that is a mid Nyx Assassin, as we have every reason to believe it will be. Not very hard to hit those impales whenever you have a telekinesis or even
10
a
seconds
grave chill to
remaining.
set them up. I feel like it's going to be essential here that Fnatic really
5
think
seconds
hard
remaining.
about running an offensive tri-lane. It will be a Luna pick out from Vici, so it is going to be
Fnatic's
3
turn to
ranged if they
pick.
decide to do it into that ostensible defensive tri-lane. But just to free up some safety in mid for the Shadow Fiend. Nyx Assassin a little tougher to gank because of the strength of Carapace and so on. But if they really want to keep Demon safe, they need to keep some pressure onto the whatever lane Rubik and Visage happen to be and make it difficult for them to rotate to mid.
Yeah, they don't really have anything to keep them in place, though. I guess a Venomous Gale
10
is kind of the best they
seconds
have,
remaining.
but VG could technically just run circles around Fnatic, too. Oh, nope, not without Slardar. So we're going to see a lot of minus armor. I have actually never seen the EO plus starter combination before either.
Yeah, I can't remember where I've seen it. I want to say it casted it a while ago, going all the way back to maybe the previous season of D2L or something like that. But yeah, EO plus Slardar can be devastating, but Slardar very much, and we talked about this some yesterday, Slardar's very much a hero who tends to either snowball or fall flat on his face. If he falls behind, he's not particularly good at farming. He doesn't do a great job of playing from behind. Even a few kills when he's behind doesn't always seem to be enough to get him into shape, but he is going to have the ability to pour out mass amounts of damage, as you mentioned, with the minus armor from Bristleback, from Shadow Fiend, and from Slardar.
I think that Vici should definitely offensive tri-lane, try and keep
10
Slaughter down.
seconds
Wisp
remaining.
is not the best babysitter. Venomancer is okay, but compared to
5
Visage
seconds
plus
remaining.
Rubik plus Luna and the Lunar Blessing, they're going to have their work cut out for them in trying to secure a farm for Aoi. So if Vici does that, they can win one lane, and it can be a wash into the other 2 lanes. I think Shadow Fiend definitely has the upper edge at mid, especially past level 3, and especially considering Nyx's very, very low base damage. 53 is not that low, but it's still pretty low when you're trying to deal with the Shadow Fiend with any decent amount of souls. And I think that Bristleback will do very well versus Nature's Prophet too. So Fnatic could win potentially 2 out of 3 lanes if Vici aggressive tri-lanes, but if they don't aggressive tri-lane, Vici might lose all 3 lanes.
Yeah, and coming into this, I thought it was going to be essential for Fnatic to put the aggression on Vici, but just because of the strength of the Slardar pick, as you talked about, I mean, you just want to keep that hero down. And it's going to end up having the same effect. So long as you can keep Vici occupied, free up time for Demon to do what we saw him do last night. Get ahead in items, play the hero the way he loves to play him. Very aggressive, very chancy, high risk, high reward, dedication, hard work, all that fun stuff. And try to repeat what we saw last night. We're about 30 seconds out from the horn blowing. Let's take a look at who's handling who. It'll be Fly, the captain for Fnatic, playing on our Venomancer with No Tail. Once again back on the EO. Demon will be on the Shadow Fiend, one of his signature heroes. Trixie is already into the off lane on this Bristleback, while Slardar will be farmed by AUI. On the other side of the river, ROTK playing on our Nature's Prophet with Nyx Assassin taken mid by Super as anticipated. It'll be Fenrir on the Visage, while Rubik is played by FY, and farming the Luna will be Sylar. Looks like it's going to be a quiet early game though, as they are running 2 defensive tri-lanes.
Yep, ROTK is going to have his work cut out for him. He's already summoned 2 Cesatrians on bottom. He also has Tangos and Clarity, but no boots. He's just going to get chased down by Aoi, I think, if he tries to stay in lane. So he has to be extremely, extremely careful so he doesn't give up an early first blood. See D-Man already off to a decent start, just trying to harass out Super. There goes his first soul. So I fully expect Demon to come out way ahead in this lane, especially considering the block. He has his block on top of his hill right now. Trixie trying to get some semblance of experience on top. Luckily for him, his range creep is already dead, so the lane should push out closer to his tower.
See a little bit of micro battle happening in bottom. ROTK trying like hell to creep skip with those 2 summon sets of treants, but Fnatic able to manage that and keep him from bringing creeps around for free XP and gold under the tower. And ROTK going to eat a Gale right in the mouth, and he's going to have to run away, trying to trade as best he can, but taking a lot of damage in the back from Fly. Up at top, Trixie will be telekinesed, but still so tough to kill even at this early level. Very difficult to bring down at Bristleback, and we can see Fly already being pursued out by Trixie. Now he'll be spotted by Visage. And Grave Chill's there, but the Centaur stop almost got Fenrir, not quite though.
Yep, Trixie needs to be able to leech experience though. And mid lane checking CS 7-2 for Super, 5-0 for Demon. So Demon is getting past that early phase in the game where Shadow Fiend typically suffers, but now it's going to be very difficult for Super, because if he tries to go for last hit, he's just going to get raised, and Demon's going to get the creep kill. Super very low on HP, already burned through all of his bottle charges as well as his shared tango, and he's only at half HP. Demon, meanwhile, still has a pool tango and 2 bottle charges, so Super has to he can't really contest CS unless he gets a rune. Let's see, 2-minute rune spawns top, and it's a DD. Very lucky for Super.
Yep, we saw ROTK actually making his way down to the bottom rune spot just to try and make sure that was secured. And like you said, Demon doing a great job, and Trixie will catch a loose, and Baby will be telekinesis. They're going to go for this. Grave Chill to follow it up. Now he's going to have a lot of damage built up, and there it is, Soul Assumption in first blood. Drawn by Vici. And just a little too optimistic from Trixie, trying to soak what he could, and ends up feeding.
Yep, they had the tough reward in the lane too. It's not easy for either of these offlaners to stay in lane. ROTK not getting any experience, but also not giving up any deaths either. 36 out of 200, so pretty much just 1 creep's worth of experience. They could very easily tower dive him too. Oh, the Gale narrowly misses. He would have been very dead there because he can't TP out because he's not even level 2 yet.
Yep, we see AUI shooting some nasty glares at him and going to give him a jab in the back. He's actually taking an undue amount of damage from creeps, but here in mid we can see Demon hooked up with by No Tail, and Demon taking a bit of damage on his own. He's got 14 souls tucked away, so his damage beginning to get up there a bit, already up to about call it 81. But Super hanging and banging as best he can. Taking a look at the experience, they're just about dead even. The CS favoring Demon short, just narrowly. But Super doing a pretty good job. He's going to have a quick 6, and he'll be able to get active very soon.
Yep, Demon at full HP now, or very close to full HP. Demon has his boost, as does Super, so I doubt either of them will be in that much trouble. Sylar harassing Trixie down a little bit. Trixie still not having any boost too, and there is a triple spawn being taken out by the 2 supports on the side of Vici. Trixie's trying his darn best to leech some of that precious experience. Level 3.5 on him. ROTK, level 3 now too, after that missed Gale.
And taking a look at Sylar. On top of our CS board, along with Demon and along with AUI, sitting at about 21 now. And not quite level 4 yet, so experience gain a little slow in coming for him. Whereas 4.5 for AUI, who has largely been left alone by his supports down here in bottom. ROTK did manage to soak some experience, took him a little while to do it, but Trixie once again going to end up dead at top. So Vici. Hang on, we've got Demon jumping on Fenrir. He's got No-Tail there to help him. Can they catch him? Raise off the mark. Here comes Super. Super has the impale and will catch Demon. Soul Assumption's there. Super has Mana Burn ready if he wants to spend it, and will. The rotation from ROTK essential, and No-Tail not out of the woods yet. ROTK doesn't have a single point in the Sprout, so unable to lock him down. Grave Chill's there, though. And here come the Treants to do a little bit of damage. However, No-Tail will be able to tether to a creep as he makes his way back to mid lane and to safety.
Yeah, Shadow Fiend took a lot of damage there, and a nice rotation from ROTK. He knows he can't stay in bottom lane, so he has to get other objectives accomplished around the map. Top lane's already a big win for Vici, killing Trixie twice and pretty much having free farm on Sylar. Let's see what Aoi is farming up for. He has 1,500 gold. He may go for an early blink, checking No-Tail's level. He's only a level 3 too, so even if they get the blink, they still won't have relocate, although it is going to be very, very nice once both of those are up and online.
Yeah, Slarter really, it's going to be all about what AUI can do with what he's been given. He's had total unfettered free farm at bottom. Almost level 6 now. He's actually ahead of Luna now in farm. Doesn't have any kills to his name or even in his vicinity like Sylar does. But nonetheless, he is in great shape. And once No-Tail hits level 6, that's what it's going to all be about. No-Tail about halfway there now. Demon almost level 6 as well. So we see a rotation of ROTK back down to bottom. Everything's staying pretty quiet, though. Looks like both teams willing to just go ahead and ease on in. 3 kills on the board, all belonging to Vici. 1,000 gold lead. There's the claim.
Yep, Super is level 6 with Arcane Boots if he wants to buy it right now, and Aoi is level 6 too. So we actually may see a Vendetta gank if he bottles up and he gets his Arcane Boots after. He will have full mana.
Yep, there you go. Bottling himself all the way up. We'll go ahead and move back to mid. He does have help rotating over, though. And Demon does, I should say. Trixie and No-Tail showing their face. And Super will Vendetta.
They saw it with, actually, maybe they didn't see it with the ward. It was very, very close to being close to that ward.
Looks like they suspect it. Even if they didn't see it, they damn well think it's coming. As Demon and No-Tail both are playing very, very far back, and Super will go ahead and spin the Vendetta on the last hit. So, able to dodge the gank attempt there. Trixie still making up some ground, level 4.5, just about 3.5 for Fly, and we'll look to see him get a bit more active. It's going to be an early blink rush from AUI, it would seem. He's got the gold for it right now, if that's the case.
Yep, it's very important to get the jump on them before they can pop their defensive cooldowns, or even before Luna can pop her Eclipse. Speaking of Luna, shoot, I hear a stun, Demon, no mana left.
Yep, taking a bit of damage. Back up to 28 souls, so hitting fairly hard for this phase of the game. We see Fenrir is rotating over. 2 points into Soul Assumption. And no mana right now for Demon. He's got bottle charges to spend, though, and Slarter does pick up the blink. Now, you know, an early blink dagger pickup on Slarter.
Here they go, ROTK.
And on bottom, we can see ROTK trying to TP out, unable to do so. And in mid, an engagement here as well. Fenrir and Super taking a lot of damage. Demon, he actually stuttered it. Saw the carapace come out and stuttered the long-range Shadow Rays, keeping himself from being stunned. Fenrir and Super, though, both able to make it away. And here we go, another TP coming in. That's going to be ROTK, gets a Sprout off on Demon. Super there with the Impale, Mana Burn afterwards. No-Tail's hooked up with him, trying to heal him up as best he can and doing a good job of it.
Nice heal from No-Tail.
Just don't have the damage output at this stage to deal with IO plus the Shadow Fiend. And there's a haste room picked up. Super has Vendetta if he feels like he needs it. Looks like he will go ahead and pull back. In the meantime, at bottom, we can see the tier 1 being pressured quite a bit.
Yeah, ROTK can't really stand there when Aoi has mana. He does not have enough mana for a Blink and Slithering Crush right now, but it looks like this tower is going to go down very quickly. ROTK so close to denying it right there. First tower of the game will fall. Check out Sylar. He is going for the BKB rush, but I don't actually think that BKB rush is going to be that effective in this game, because if he BKBs early, he just gets amped up and then right-clicked by Shadow Fiend, and if he doesn't get his BKB off, he'll just get Blink and crushed by Slardar. So it's not. I mean, it's very difficult to play against the Slardar. Item choices insanely hard.
Super trying to zone out Trixie as they look to trade tier 1 for tier 1. And Trixie moving in to try and slow this down. He'll go for the deny almost certainly. Nope, gonna back off. Probably the right call. That's Fly, or FY rather, was right in position to telekinesis. Taking a look at Demon, hanging near the top still yet in CS 54 for him. He's gonna be rushing a flat BKB too. Just picked up his Ogre Club. It's
very important for Zenix to get a BKB. He has to have one.
Smoke out of Super and FY as they're going to rotate most likely towards mid already though. AUI's there, as is No Tail. They're going to try and take a jump on Fenrir and catch him. There's the Slithering Crush. And well,
Trixie, they're switching to Trixie.
Yep, moving now towards mid. Trixie in some trouble. Will be telekinesis. Super's right there with him. Has Vendetta if he needs it. And not even gonna need it as Sylar's there to finish it off with a Lucid Beam. Down at bottom, ROTK. Thought he was gonna be engaged on by Fly, but not enough mana for a Venomous Gale. So nothing working there. But whenever you see a Slardar rush an early Blink, this is what he has to do. He's not making decent item progression in terms of just pure stack.
They're waiting for ROTK to come out, but he's not gonna bite.
Yep. But, yeah, if you're going to rush the early Blink, you have to be active. We've seen players make that mistake a lot. Get an early Blink on Slardar, maybe get a kill or two, and then stop and try to farm. That's really not what the hero's built to do. And Fnatic's going to need to avoid that moving forward.
Yep, I completely agree with that sentiment. Slardar is a killer, not a farmer.
Yep.
I mean, sometimes you need some semblance of farm. Like, you need treads, you need blink, and maybe like a bracer, wand, or drums. But aside from that, you have to keep the opponents low on farm. Like Sylar on his Luna, if he gets like a HOD and just goes farm more versus Slardar, Slardar is going to lose out in that big time. And with like a Butterfly, Slardar won't be able to man up. But if they're both on equal farm, at least very early on into the game, it's going to be highly beneficial for Slardar.
Let's see, what did he get? Managed to get Shadow Rays.
Short range.
Yep.
It's so hard to tell which one.
Yeah, no.
How are you supposed to tell which one is the? I had to like hover over the tooltip.
Yeah, me too. Actually, I didn't even hover until you mentioned it. Just trusted you, because that's what I do. I trust my co-caster.
Yeah, I guess like if you look at Shadow Fiend, I guess you can kind of see that like the second and third ones are like more faded out, but that doesn't tell me really which one is.
I don't play that much Shadow Fiend, all right. But. Stack being taken by Trixie right now.
There's a triples or three-man smoke from Super, FY, and Sylar. Sylar has not been active on the map, but now that the T1 is down, they're looking for a kill. Aoi going to be the target. Super Vendetting. And
oh, he should see it. And caught with the Lucid Beam. There's a sprint and has Blink if he needs it now. The Vendetta, not enough to catch
Sylar came up too close. Super was Vendetted in. All they need to do is get the Vendetta stunned off and then into a Telekinesis Eclipse. He's dead.
Super not giving up quite yet. And spots a couple of heroes behind the tower. We'll go ahead and back up and reset. We can see Trixie continuing to make up some ground. He's almost level 7, but very low health, taking that Ancient stack. AUI's got 1,000 gold in the bank. We'll see what he wants to grab with it next. How do you feel about an armlet after a Blink Dagger?
I think he needs BKB.
Yep.
I mean, armlet wouldn't be that bad either. It just depends on how the fights are going to go. If he thinks he can blink in without dying, then yeah, he can get it. But if Vici 5-man, he is going to die. Like he's forced to go on the Nyx, or else the Nyx will just stun him out and he'll get eclipsed. So it's not an easy life for him, and he can't get any item that will take him from being able to, oh, there's a relocate going to come in very soon.
Fresh off of it, they catch ROTK, and he's blown up. Rotation's coming, but it's going to be slow in the coming. As Vici still trying to track him down. Lucid Beam and the Telekinesis does catch Demon, and here's the Eclipse, but No Tail hooking up at the absolute last second to save Demon, and Demon could not have had 50 HP.
Wow. That was so close. Nice play from No Tail right there. And I mean, there are good OS players, and there are damn good OS players, and No Tail fits into the latter.
No Tail's just damn good, period. And showing it right there. Trixie going to be telekinesis right into the impale. They're going to blow him up. And look at that bristleback evaporate. AUI blinks in, but catches.
He didn't get anyone with that stun.
Catches nothing but creeps. And Fly going to move in and get off the poison Nova. Fenrir is very low in health, as is ROTK. No-Tail trying to pursue them out. There's the blink. Now they'll get ROTK. And Fenrir will be cleaned up by No-Tail as well. He might be able to make it away. Siler's right behind him. And going to hook back up. AUI telekinesed and knocked out.
Siler's going to die to a blink too.
Yep, here comes Demon. Oh, the impale from behind disrupts it, and they managed to pick him off. Now AUI overextended. Can he get Siler? He does, and he may be able to sprint away. Now he's going to turn back around as Trixie enters the fight, and the damage is there. Blinking now on top.
What a blink.
Managing to turn this entire fight around. Make it 8-8. Fnatic has drawn it back to even.
I guess there are benefits of being underfarmed in the off lane, because Trixie, he died at the start of the fight, but he came right back in and cleaned 3 of them up. Vici, it's not like they overstayed their welcome too. It's just, it was just a nice play from Fnatic there, saving, relocate on bottom. Easy kill on ROTK. Nature's Prophet has to be especially scared of the relocate, and he has his Midas right now, but 15 minutes in, just brown boots Midas. This is similar to ROTK's Nature's Prophet versus LGD, and I think he's going to continue to be underfarmed. If you get a blink on him, you just waste a lot of farm. If you get a Necro Book 3, you're still going to die. If you get a 4-staff, you're still going to die too because of the blink on Sardar. So he, again, the item choice is incredibly difficult. I think the best choice for him right now maybe to just mech up and stay with his team.
Yeah, I like that. The idea of a utility build. He has picked up a belt of strength, and we'll see if that's going to go into treads. Well, I'm going to imagine it will at this phase of the game. And the Fnatic continuing to rattle their Saber down mid lane. Looks like they want to try and force another fight.
Fnatic has like a far better late game than Vici. So if they're ahead on kills and they're ahead on gold like 15, 25 minutes into the game, then Vici has a very, very tough road ahead for him. So this is probably the most crucial part of the game right now. They had the early game advantage with just being able to kill Trixie over and over, but now that the blink on, well, that's an easy kill for Aoi. Aoi just picking up ROTK, and yeah, ROTK, like what is he supposed to do versus Slardar? You can't TP away, you'll just get bashed.
And Vici continuing to try to hold the line here in mid. Fnatic split pushing now with AUI going to work. He's very close to having his BKB. Luna just finished her BKB while we're talking about it. But, you know, talking about ROTK and his Nature's Prophet play, you know, he's less farmed right now than Trixie, considerably so. He's less farmed right now than No-Tail. You just can't have that out of a Nature's Prophet at 15, 20 minutes into a game.
Vici did the right thing, I think, in trying to keep down Bristleback as well as Shadow Fiend, but it's just the nature of Fnatic's draft. They know they're going to lose at least one of their lanes, but they're trying to get at least Shadow Fiend or Slardar farmed to that point. Look at ROTK's position. He's like so darn scared, and Aoi is hunting for him too. But yeah, their nature of the draft is like, hey, we're going to lose one lane, but one of our important heroes, either Shadow Fiend, Slardar, or Bristleback, is going to get huge enough where you cannot ignore them in fights. And Super grabs the haste on bottom. They are smoked up as far. ROTK ready to TP in.
And here we go. Super leading the way. Still under cover of smoke. And in mid, ROTK shows up. They might try to make a run at this bottom tower. Fnatic mostly concentrated back in the well and here in mid. And they're looking for a target, but nobody's going to be home. Bit of a missed opportunity.
Oh, Fly is going to die.
And
maybe, maybe not.
Fly,
yep, he's dead.
Yep, caught out, telekinesed, and blown up. Not a whole lot could be done there, and they're going to rotate
it's
back
not that bad,
mid.
though. A Smoke Ink for Venomancer, it's not that bad. And they don't have the damage to take out Roshan right now, or not, especially not if Fnatic wants to contest.
And here we go. They're going to jump right on ROTK off of the relocate. He's blown up. The rest of the team rushes in. Super uses the impale. BKB's up. Eclipse doing its work, but Demon with a BKB of his own, and AUI with a BKB of his own, able to survive all that damage. And now Fenrir still being targeted out. Trixie's right there with him, has the goo on him, and will be able to finish him off. Super doing the job on AUI, but he's going to end up dead as well. And there it is. He actually uses the Carapace, and Roshan came out into the fight as well. And they're going to immediately take a Roshan off of this fight. Fnatic playing so well here in this early and mid-game phase. Look at that, up to just about 6,000 gold lead for them right now, coming up on 10,000 experience.
Oh, there's a buyback from Super, but they can't do anything. I don't know why he bought back.
And Roche drops immediately.
And this is the thing about Siler. He was like absolute freeform for the first 15 minutes of the game. It's not like he lost that much CS, but he has his BKB, yet it's absolutely useless.
Yep.
Like Demon and Slaughter just BKB to focus him down, and there's no way that Luna can win that war. When he is amped, he is probably close to negative armor, especially with the presence of the Dark Lord, and he just dies in probably like 5 or 6 sets even through BKB. So now what does Siler do? Like if he gets his butterfly, he's going to be way too slow. If he gets Yasha, he's still going to suffer the same fate. So all their eggs are kind of in one basket for the late game, and it's getting to that point where Fnatic has reached that critical mass where if Siler dies 1 or 2 more times, he is just going to feed in team fights.
It kind of comes down to what we were talking about during the draft. Hang on, ROTK going to show up. Looks like they really want to take this tower down. They should be able to get it. Demon Cobb with the Lucent Beam. Here comes another TP in. Super lands the Impale as soon as he lands. And Fenrir throws out a little bit of damage. But here comes AUI. 3-man Slithering Crush. Can they engage off of him? BKBs are up. ROTK sprouts himself in. He's barely alive, but not for long. He ends up dropping. Siler trying to make for the high ground. Trixie's on him, and they do manage to clean him up. The rest of Vici
There's a relocate.
trying to limp away. Nice impale from Super. Don't know that it's going to make that big of a difference as Demon's right on top. Thought about the ulti, thought better of it. Fenrir going to die behind his own tier 2. Double kill goes to Trixie. And the damage from Vici just isn't there. We were talking about it during the draft. They don't have any sustain. They need too many items. They need items on Prophet. They need items on Luna. And with the BKBs out, there's no way for them to do the damage they need in these mid-game fights.
Yeah, Slaughter is too big, too strong, too early. Luna, BKBs, runs away, still doesn't live. And it's just going to continue to get worse and worse for Vici. They weren't even able to snag the Aegis off of Bristleback. So now their 5-man strat has fallen flat on his face, and they cannot get another T1 tower for quite some time to come. Trixie still has the Aegis for another 4 minutes, and Fnatic is just going to take complete control of the map. They can't split push because of the relocate. They can't farm because of the relocate. So I don't really know what Vici is going to do now.
Tier 2 under threat. I was going to say, Demon doing his little dance, channeling the ulti.
Siler cannot stand right there. He's going to get initiated on by Slaughter, and they're just going to get wrecked if he dies first. So he has to be very, very careful and stand in a very well-fortified position. Impale
off the mark. Trixie leading the way, getting way out front, doing what damage he can. Demon's right there, just zoning them completely off of their own tier 2. And AUI looking for a target, got 2. Super and FY, there's going to be a sprout that's off the mark. BKB's up on both sides. Here's the Eclipse, but no damage being done to high priority targets. Trixie will have his Aegis popped almost certainly, and he won't care. There's ROTK picked off. Fenrir's next on the list. AUI and Demon utterly wrecking Vici Gaming here in game 2. And once again, for the 2nd time in a row, Fnatic, after taking a loss in game 1, battles back and staves off elimination, forcing our 4th series to a 3rd game out of 5. What a performance. 21 minutes, all the time it took them, Merlini.
Yeah, I think Aoi and No-Tail MVPs for that match. Aoi, like, sometimes you see someone get like free farm and they don't really do that much with it, like Siler this game. Not really his fault, it's just mostly the hero's fault, but Slaughter got a blink, got 2 kills each time he initiated, and then after that BKB, and they just have no answer to a BKB Slaughter in their face, and not to mention a Bristleback with Aegis in their face and a Shadow Fiend BKB. So I think that was actually a very, very good draft from Fnatic. They set up to lose a lanes, but win at least in one of them, and on a very, very high impact hero. And they had enough trust in Aoi. It's like, hey, we're going to give you free farm for 10 minutes. You better make good use of it, and he did.
Demon Shadow Fiend seems to be the X factor both times. Drafting the Shadow Fiend has completely re-energized the Fnatic team that was trailing in the series. And Fnatic, +2, now just 1 game away from finding themselves in the grand finals, despite playing down 2 men and playing down with 2 stand-ins in AUI and Demon. Demon and AUI, what can you say? They had great games both.
Fantastic
Such a
game.
Huge part of this win, and it's hard to believe. Coming into this, once it was announced that Era and Hani wouldn't be here, everyone wrote Fnatic off. They're now 1 game away from making it to our grand finals.
Yeah,
looking ahead,
ridiculously impressive by them.
Looking ahead to our 3rd game, keys for both teams.
I think that Fnatic needs to they need a draft for their players like this, like Shadow Fiend for Demon. They also need to try and take Vici out of their element. Vici, very same draft. I think LGD and Vici has like very standard draft for every single one of their games. It's like, I guess the only one notable difference was the Doom and Wisp strat that LGD ran, but other than that is almost exactly the same thing. They'll group up 5 like around 8 to 12 minutes in and then try and push with an early mech and then just roll you from there with their excellent team comp. But it was completely dismantled by the early BKB on Slaughter. So Fnatic, I mean, that was like one hero too. Like Slaughter was pretty much the sole hero that just completely threw a wrench in their plans too. So they just need to prepare for what Vici has thrown to them. I think Vici just needs to adapt better. Like the one game that they got rolled by Alliance, they just didn't rotate Sylar out of the lane because Tusk just kept killing him over and over and over. So I think this game they needed to kill Slardar a little bit more. They focused way too much on Bristleback, and they also drafted poorly for Nyx in mid. Like Nyx or Shadow Fiend, how is Nyx going to stop him from farming? You can't. You had to force in rotation from supports. Fnatic saw it coming, and from there.
We'll see which team is going to be joining LGD China in our grand finals. Game 3 of our lower bracket finals coming up in just a moment. Stick with us here at the HyperX D2L.